Hello, welcome back. Another episode of PiperDoug doing something. As promised, I'm doing a different job with the same machine that was in last time. I was away, I don't know if you can see that, way over there, cutting hay. The hay is pretty well baled up. The neighbour that was cutting the barley next to me, he's all done. The straw's all baled and is being hauled off. Stuff's moving fast. Fast. So, the header. If you can see that, this is the 30 footer. This is the 30 foot, we'll get out of the sun. This is the 30 foot, it's called a HoneyBee header. Used for knocking down combining crops to dry. That way you don't have to spray it. Handy for when you're keeping stuff for seed. Because if you spray it, you kill the germ that makes the crop grow. So yeah, I'll just give you a little quick looky-see at how this machine works. So, got a bar, as you can see, every other blade is upside down, back and forward. These are called Schumacher guards. I don't know who Schumacher was, but he was a hell of a guy. Makes great cutter bars, lovely. So yeah, as you can see, one's upside down, one's the right way, and that way, as it cuts through between the guards, it does a really good job. It cuts even like through really tough stuff. And this is what they call a double knife drive. So at one end there's another drive, at this end there's a pitman that turns. You can see that. It turns, and that's what drives the knife back and forward. So yeah, it's a bit of an ordeal changing headers over from the disc bind to this. Hopefully the breeze isn't going to be too loud on you. When the New Holland came out with this guy, they had a hard time adapting a combine header, which this is. I know it says New Holland on it, but that's a HoneyBee. They had a hell of a time adapting a way to hook the header to the swather, so they came up with this lovely little piece of crap in here. If you can see that, this part here that adds on to the disc bind arm right there. Now there's another one at the other side too. So there's a whole rigmarole of parts that go in there that you have to hook it up. Basically, it is possible to do it by yourself, but that'll take a good bit of science to figure that part out. But with us, it took 3 people, and it took about half an hour to change the header. This year, the big change that we did, as you can see behind us, put my finger here. These are the swaths. So what would normally happen is you would pull a little roller behind you, hooked onto, if you can see that, hooked onto that ball hitch. You pull a little roller behind you, and that's what tags all of these guys into the stubble. Because the stubble, as you can see, it's quite tall. That stops it blowing away. So, smart idea. Some chappie came up, or a person, came up with, is to mount the roller right underneath the swather, so you're not dealing with this thing back there, because they get to be a pain in the ass, because, oh, pardon my French, because if you get into tight circles and turning radiuses and things, that little roller there can get trapped up on the back wheels. So we put this on. So it came with, dang bugs, it came with 3 bolts to put it on, and it was going to be an absolute bugger to put these bolts through the frame, because as you can see, it's a big honking frame. It would take a big long bolts, and there's actually a part of the frame where you can't get the bolts through it. So in PiperDoug true fashion, get the welder out. So the back plate was square. Before I show you this, the back plate was square. So the best way to get the welds to penetrate really well is if it's not on a complete vertical. So what I did was I cut the actual box. So as you can see, like that and like that there. And particularly proud of my stack of dimes. Yes, just showing you. Pick that all up. So yeah, it would have been square like that, but like I said, I cut it in, and that gave me the angles. That gave me the angles to lay the weld in really hard. Put quite a bit of heat to it because, as you can see, this thing is quite a chunk of steel. So yes, I'm quite particularly happy with those welds. So yeah, it's working a treat. I've already done about 140 acres or so out here, but I've got to get back to work. Do a bunch more. As you might see, if you can see into the light here, there. The outside row isn't swathed, and this confounds the locals why I do this. Long story short is I do that because quite often around the edges of the field there's crap. There's branches, there's stones, there's fence posts, there's wildlife parts, antlers, bones, anything. So what happens if you go and do the outside round first, and then you go and clip something and you break one of the blades or the guards or something? Well, you might have broken something more serious, and now you're buggered. You have the whole field to do and you've got nothing done. So I find I usually just use the sprayer tram line as a judge, so I can figure out how much to leave, and then I leave it to the end. It's usually got a little bit more green in it from the rest of the crop, because around the edges you've got a bit more like weed competition and a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, you get back up in the machine, put the old device on the old noggin box here. Now, fire in the hole. There you are. Air conditioning. Oh, lovely air conditioning. So, yeah, I had another instance where the air conditioning quit on me today, and it's not as hot today as it has been of late, i.e. 38, 39 degrees before the Humidex, but it is hovering around about 28, 29. So, just trying to make sure I'm leaving the right height of stubble here. And yes, I'm trying not to wiggle my head back and forward, I honestly am. Yeah, so this is, the crop is sort of lying towards the east, which is the direction we're going in. So you sort of have to pull the crop back over the cutter bar to get it to lay down and go through the hole. So the only problem is this direction over in that corner there, if you don't watch it closely and get the fingers to pull it over the cutter bar, it will jam, and then you end up with big elephant dungs, as we call it, or dinosaur dungs. The combine driver doesn't like that, and I'm thinking this year the combine driver might possibly be me, as my dad is retiring from running the combine. So yeah, that job's up for grabs. but hopefully I'm not wiggling my head too badly. I'm trying to keep an eye on this, which is hard with a 30-foot wide header, and I'm trying to keep an eye on both ends without turning my head. It's really hard. But yeah, this field is a damn sight smoother than the last field I was in, and I alluded to that. Right now there is bangs because I don't know if you can pick this out of the camera. We're about to cross a water run. What a water run is, in the springtime when the snow melts, there's a lot of surface water that runs off. So you get these sort of little, they're not streams because they're not permanent. They only run for a few weeks and then they dry up. So most of the time you can grow a crop in it. Unless there's a massive downpour. But usually it's a bit of a bugger to go through with a header because the header wants to dip on one side or the other side depending on which wheel you sink into the bottom of the water run. So here's another one, but this one stayed wet for too long when the seed was just sown, so the seed is sort of thin and hasn't really amounted to anything, so. But we'll cut through it anyway. So yeah, we cut this and then it'll probably lay here for 3 to 4 weeks. We're about a week or so early cutting canola this year. Just because it's so dang dry. Like, we've had hardly any rain. I think probably in the last 2 months I don't think we've had an inch of rain. So all around us there's different crops being combined. Like I said, the one neighbor, he's been doing his barley. Neighbor across the road over there, he's made a start into his spring wheat. Not sure how well it's going as of yet, because usually when it's really dry and the crop stops filling out, you end up with higher protein, and then yeah, well, you do get premiums if you get higher protein. But anyway, so just a little update to show you what all is going on out here. Probably do a few more of these because I've got another couple of fields of this to do, but then we're moving into some other stuff. So there's going to be some combining coming up right away because the wheat is becoming ready. Combine just came back to the farm from the dealership getting its pre-season check over done, so I'll give you a walk around of that big bad boy. And yeah, so I'm gonna let you all go because it's supper time and PiperDoug's hungry.